The week of the bulls is here for us, and we'll be going over some upwards targets here for Bitcoin as Bitcoin does once again trudge through the 115,000 US dollar number. And as always, we're going to start it off with a good old revisiting of the daily price action statistics, of which Tuesday is quite literally a coin flip's probability on whether it's likely to close positively or negatively since this bull market began in 2023. However, we are, as always, most interested in the average returns for both the winning and losing Tuesdays. And for the upside, that would give us a nice little area of interest at around 116,400. So that does mean, or does imply, that if Bitcoin does pop up around that number today, I would be looking for a pullback on the first pass. As always, very, 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 very high probability scalping opportunity. However, upon the second pass, if there is a second pass, that probability gets significantly reduced. So please do understand that if you are using this as a scalping mechanism, which I think is a very, very fine thing to be doing, it's really only the first pass that has that high probability. The second one, sometimes it does play out like that, but not always. And again, I wouldn't be taking that trade personally. Anyways, to the downside, if Bitcoin were to reach down around about 112, 150, that would be your average return range low for today. And if Bitcoin does get somewhere down around there, again, I would be looking for a bounce on the first pass. We've seen this happen a million and one times now. You don't need to repeat the same damn thing, but I do want to say for the short-term time frame scalpers, for the people who are looking for those daily scalp opportunities, I think this indicator is just fucking, it's undefeated. I'll just say it straight up. If you can't see it, then I don't have time to explain it to you, as the good old Satoshi said. So again, this is available for free for 7 days in the Caretaker's Indicator Suite. You can find a link to that in the description below under the Teachable link. It'll be right there for you. And like I said, 7 days free, no strings attached, no nothing like that. And now let's get into the rest of this video, of which I need to get my notes back and flying around over here. There we go. Beautiful. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about this Bitcoin rally. So Bitcoin does still have targets higher based off of the meta signal setup that we looked at over here. And there's actually a couple other setups that are now coalescing in the background that I think could further enhance this. And I do think that there is a legitimate chance for Bitcoin to potentially have a runaway move here. Now, when I say that, I, as always, in the moment get carried away with things. So I do want to temper this whole expectation by stating, yes, the corrective setups that we have been I fucking hate that word, that we've been looking at for the past few weeks, or the past like week and a half now, are still very much valid, which we will go over later. So there's many roads and avenues that that price may take, but I do want to be providing some probabilities as to what essentially to expect. So looking at this here again, the meta signal setup, we already saw target number one hit. We spoke about this. I believe I reposted this one on the 24th of October. So that was like 4 days ago now. That fired off when Bitcoin was trading just below 111,000 US dollars. Said, hey, target number one looks pretty damn good for a rally. That was 116. That was obviously hit about a day and a half ago. Target number two, however, which does have a just under 50% probability to be hit, is just above 121,000 US dollars, which I do think deserves a lot of focus here, as we'll be going over a little bit later. That number will pop up later in this video, and I do think that it deserves a lot of attention going forwards here. That is going to be a big fucking pivot for Bitcoin, more or less. Target number three, significantly lower probability at just above 21%, but that would be Bitcoin at new all-time highs, 144,000 US dollars, which would be rather nice, or at least I imagine people would look at that as rather nice. I mean, I think I would. Anyways, this is all predicated upon that stop loss with the closure below about 106, so that would suggest that those probabilities are in play as long as Bitcoin is above that number. The second that Bitcoin starts to close below that number on a daily time frame, then it's done. It's donezo sunzo. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into a few signals here, as well as other setups that do kind of corroborate this story. But going over to the 5-day time frame setup right here, or sorry, not setup, but signal, we did speak about this as a potential in yesterday's video. It did fire off and confirm as of last night's 5-day closure, which did have a drive of hidden bullish divergence coming off of this last low here. So that does favor some short-term upside. And I do think that Bitcoin is going to likely mount an assault a little bit higher, at least, even if you're the biggest bear right now, because if Bitcoin was going to be bearish in the short term, I do believe that would have happened really at the end of last week. Instead, Bitcoin held the line, and most importantly, in this week is now pushing forward. So that is very likely to be the current short-term direction continuing here. On top of this, I want to bring back one of these setups here, probably my most favorite and the most simplistic setup, which has led to the biggest fucking gains and has caught every major move for Bitcoin. I mean, basically since the dawn of history for Bitcoin, but especially in the last 8 years. And it is the 5-day 5 EMA setup. So the 5 EMA is just that red moving average that you see on the screen right here, which I'm going to get rid of everything else besides that. There we go. And anytime, and the setup is literally this simple. It's so fucking simple. It's so fucking simple. Even a herpy derp like me could do it, which perhaps you could be as well. Anyways, whenever Bitcoin closes above that red moving average, it opens long. When Bitcoin closed below that red moving average, it closed that long. And if you were to do that over the past 10 years, you would have had these as your results. Some massive, massive, massive fucking gains, even though the win rate for this particular setup is rather low. It's actually just under 40%. So, this is not like a crazy high win rate. But while I dip a little bit into gambler's fallacy here, we have seen the last 1, 2, 3 of these setups fail in a row, which is actually quite rare. And in fact, during bull markets, we don't really see more than 3 failures in a row. In fact, even 3 failures in a row is rather unlikely. The last time we saw it was actually earlier this year. We saw 1 failure right here, 2 failures right here, 3 failures in a row, and then boom, massive fucking girthy green dildo party from $83,500 all the way up to $110,000 and then again from 100 all the way up to the current all-time high. Before that, we saw some pretty mega gains over here. I'm trying to find another slew of losses. Oh, we do actually have one over here. One loss, 2 loss, 3 losses in a row. Big fucking girthy green dildos in my face after that, 50% to the upside. That's just what this, this strategy is designed for. A couple losses in a row over here. Other than that, anytime we get more than 3 losses in a row, it's more or less a bear market, which we did see obviously in 2022, where there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses in a row. So pretty fucking bad right there. But again, when we just focus on the bull markets, which, I still think that this more or less is right now, 3 losses in a row is about the extent of what we have gotten, especially in the past, I believe about 8 to 10 years, without going through every last iteration here on video, because I don't want to bore you with this shit. Again, this setup is valid as of last night. It did fire off, and it's basically valid as long as Bitcoin's above that red 5 EMA, which is 113,325. So that is more or less to say, as long as Bitcoin's above that number, I'm just looking for higher as of right now. And when we go into our strategy tester and we use the Quant Prime service to backtest this, which by the way, you can also try out the Quant Prime service for 7 days free. Same link in the description below, just for the Quant Prime one. And this is really honestly, more focused for, more, I guess, professional people, more, more, I don't want to say experts because I fucking hate that word, but just more advanced people, basically. If you're newer, do I think that it can have a lot of value? Sure, yeah, but it's going to be a lot over your head, in my opinion. But if you do already have, especially strategies that you are thinking of testing, this just massively, massively enhances your capabilities and in speed at which you can kind of execute on figuring out if those are going to work or not. Anyways, looking at the strategy tester right here, we can see through the trade analysis that the average winning trade has returned about 36.5%. The average losing trade losing about 5.5%. I like those fucking odds. I really like those odds. Though that is it's not odds, but I really like that risk reward right there, basically. And if Bitcoin were to play out 36.5% to the upside from here, again, that's an average. There's going to be some variance in there. We've seen many that are actually significantly more than that. Like around 50%. We've seen some that are a little bit less than that. But if we were to go around the average, 35, 36% puts Bitcoin at new all-time highs, $156,000, even above target number 3 over here for the MetaSignal setup, which, by the way, do we have a time taken on this? Yeah, amount of bars is 32, so that would be 32 days because it's a daily time frame. That one fired off 4 days ago, so that's about 4 weeks from now at 28 days. 28 days later, holy shit, it's coming to fruition. And then over here, of course, when we can go back into the trade analysis, we can even look at the average amount of days taken in winning trades, which, you actually can't see it because my face is blocking it right now, but my cursor is highlighting it right now. It's 10 bars. Whenever it loses, by the way, it's usually within 2 bars. So, if this strategy is going to lose, it happens very quickly. Typically, you can see all these ones right here. They basically lose within one or 2 bars. But this one over here, if there's going to be a winner on average, it's going to be about 10 bars later. So 10 bars later puts us where? That puts us into early December. So maybe you do see around 155 before then, around then, and maybe you see like 144, about 10, 20 days before that, possible for an end of year rally here. I do think that it is possible. Again, this does not negate the other higher term time frame setups that we do have. So I do want to state that the road in which this may be fulfilled might be very fucking volatile, and it might be very, very tumultuous. It's very possible for that. In fact, there's good reason to believe that that is exactly what's going to happen. But but there is potential, again, here for more. On top of that, let's go over here and check out or should we check out? Yeah, we should check out the weekly HPDR. I just want to acknowledge that the weekly HPDR for CME is showing the median at 120,000 US dollars. That number is really fucking important, as we alluded to earlier, or around that number, basically. As long as Bitcoin's below, I do think that there is a chance for this rally to fail and come back down to very low 100s before anything else. If Bitcoin can reclaim that number on a closing basis, I think this is going to be a runaway market into the end of the year, or I don't know about the end of the year, but for the foreseeable future, which means like the next few weeks, perhaps. Anyways, on top of this, and to, again, corroborate those numbers, I want to go over here to the 5-day time frame. This one, again, just finished last night. So this is a brand new period right now. And as of right now, the pivot for stochastic momentum is technically to the downside, but where is it pivoted at? $120,000, or a little bit below 121. The 10-day time frame, which also just finished last night, is also pivoted at 119,500 US dollars. So, if you start to see price action inch back above there and close these higher term timeframes above 120, that's going to get rid of a lot of my short-term sort of skepticism for this rally and make me believe that we will see, Bitcoin actually zoom on to new all-time highs from that number. But until then, short-term, it does look like Bitcoin is going to very likely continue here to me. Even on the daily right now, if Bitcoin just trades above yesterday's high, it's hard for me not to see this thing make a real move towards that 120 number. Could still get a rejection at 120, of course, but that's still about $4,000 of kind of free space right there. So perhaps a tradable opportunity as well. Anyways, none of this financial advice. I'm just kind of sharing how I'd be looking at these markets as of right now. For better or worse, probably going to be wrong anyways. Moving on from there, let's go into, of course, well, I mean, we've gotten all of the fun stuff here. So this was all kind of like bull hopium. Well, I guess not so much hopium right now, but just like bullish sort of narrative and whatnot up until now. But I do want to, again, reiterate that there is a good reason to believe that there very easily could be another try lower first before any of this plays out. Does that potential try to the lower side first negate any of the other stuff? Maybe not. This, again, might be really fucking volatile. We don't know. Again, at the end of the day, we don't know the exact path of what's going to happen, but we do have a setup that does make us believe, or at least me believe, that there is good potential that Bitcoin will see around $102,000 to $103,000 at some point, probably not that far away, if it's going to play out anything resembling the history. So here we are on the 4-day time frame for CME, and we are going to be applying the same setup that we've been monitoring. I did it again. Oops, I did it again. I derped it again. So we're going to apply that same setup that we've been looking at, like, I don't know, it feels like 3, 4, maybe even 5 months now straight. That has caught all of the good corrections for Bitcoin and it's kept us honest on this channel as to not get too excited for when things do start to look a little bit more on the bullish side. And it has been a corrective setup, and it has been more or less an interplay between the red moving average that you see on screen here, which is a 4 EMA, and the yellow 21 EMA. And on this particular time frame, the 4-day time frame, whenever we've seen those cross the downside, so the red underneath the yellow, then we've gotten a minimum correction down to that green moving average every fucking time in CME's history, almost immediately after that. The only time where it took a little bit longer was this one over here, which took, I believe, about 26 or 28 days, something like that. So that did take a little bit longer, admittedly, but most of the other ones are very, 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 very soon after. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because that green 55 EMA is, again, about $102,500 US dollars. So do we get, a quick move down there, base there, and then boom, right back up? It's very possible. It's very possible, especially as long as Bitcoin's above that 113 and a half pivot for that 5-day 5 EMA setup. So, you could get an intra period move down and then close back up. That would be the most bullish thing in my opinion. But yeah, as long as the as long as the setup is valid, which it is, because it did fire off right here, just barely, but it did fire off. I will be sounding the alarm, or at least sounding, a little bit more on the skeptical side that, hey, there is still a high probability of this move to the downside. On top of this, we have on spot price action over here, the 5-day setup, which did fire off in the same fashion as well. We got that red cross to the downside of the yellow moving average. And for the past 8 years, it has had a perfect history of getting down to the green moving average relatively soon after that. Not always in a profitable manner. Again, this is not a trading setup right here. This would be a very bad trading setup to play out. You can see it, I mean, quite literally from the Quant Primes backtester right here. Like, this would not be fucking good, obviously. So use your brain. Like, don't look at this as a playable setup. What it is, though, it is a call to caution or skepticism that, you know, whatever correction that you're looking at has probably not played out fully just yet until that condition is met. In this one, while it did get really, really close on the following period after firing off, it did not officially test that green moving average, which again is a minimum target. So minimum means fucking minimum. Like, it at least gets there. In almost every case, it wicks at least a little bit lower than that, sometimes a lot lower, like you saw over here, but sometimes, you know, just by like 1% or so. Anyways, in this case, yeah, you know, that's available right there as well. And again, this has not failed in the past 8 years. So, you know, Bitcoin could run a little bit here for sure, you know, perhaps similar to what we saw over here, but you know, it does make me a little bit concerned that when we have something that has not failed on two different kind of time frames here, and both CME and spot over the past 8 to 10 years, like, is Bitcoin going to do something like this? Like I said, you know, pop up to 120, reject really fast, come down, and then do that? It's possible for sure. Again, I wouldn't mind if Bitcoin just runs, you know, to new highs. In fact, I'd like that. And, you know, just because it has worked out perfectly over the past 8 years doesn't mean that that's impossible. It's just, it gives us a probability. And again, I made a post about this, a little bit of a flippant post about this on Twitter earlier today, where I was calling out like some probabilistic analysis. But again, it's just like probabilities are not certainties. You can never have certainties in trading or honestly in life. Everything is a probabilistic decision, and the smartest people use probabilities to base their decisions off of. So that's why I like to bring it up and focus on it on this channel right here. If that doesn't make sense to you, then either learn that or probably leave the channel. I mean, like, why why stay on this? Because this is what I focus on primarily. But yeah, you know, that is in play right there. So it does make me a little bit skeptical that this rally is going to actually reclaim 120 and really close above that number and just zoom to new all-time highs. I'm not saying that's impossible. It's just, you know, there is a little bit of cause for concern here. But yeah, overall, you know, those setups are valid. Those setups, you know, are in play, and we shall see what sort of, you know, direction price or destination price kind of finds towards these things. Anyways, on top of all of this, I do want to bring back the quantum wave bands over here. I made a video about this over the weekend, but I just want to show once again, it's fucking crazy, man. It's fucking crazy. They've had 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's looking good so far. Wins in a row. This one just longed the low at 113.5, so not bad right there. Looking like yet another higher low and a series of higher lows for the lower term timeframes. And again, if you are looking for, if you're newer and you're looking for like a basic strategy, which is, it's actually a quite complicated strategy to be honest, but just a basic sort of strategy to follow. You don't necessarily have to play it out exactly as it's postulated here, but you can, if you desire. Then this would have been your results over the past few years, you know, just following the quantum wave bands. So I would really urge, you know, especially newer people who are trying to learn trading, who may be struggling trading, to at least reference something like this, because again, you can get a 7-day free trial. You don't have to play it out exactly as it is, but at least it'll give you some sort of guidance as to when not to fuck things up for yourself. It's not gonna be perfect, and you know, it did take some pretty big losses recently when Bitcoin reversed off of the current all-time high. That is natural, but I just want to show for the people who have been following this, even when you do have these losing periods, you know, which look bad in the moment, it continues to work its edge over the long term. And what do you know? This thing is at new all-time highs for its P&L curve. I mean, need I say more at this point? You know, it really is that simple. You can automate this. You don't have to automate it if you don't want. But again, I think that it's just really valuable, especially for newer people, to at least reference, because most newer people, you know, they don't really even have a fucking strategy. I mean, for the love of God, like, you need objective indications for entry, exit, and risk management, and this will give that all to you. So at the very least, it keeps you from getting fucking wrecked, because it gets you out of those damn trades where, you know, you're where people typically start hoping and praying that it's actually going to work out, and you know, and then it turns against you and you just don't know when to get out. So fair enough. I'll get off that topic right now, though. We are almost 20 minutes into this video, which is far too long. I do apologize about that, but we'll be back on with another live stream analysis tomorrow. I have a big announcement with the meta signals as well. coming up soon. In fact, I'll just kind of give you a quick insight into it. They're going to be getting rid of their NFTs like relatively soon, meaning that there will be no more lifetime options to purchase this. Again, this is a project that I'm invested in myself, so I am biased towards this, but I think I've shown like plenty of results from this over the past couple of years now to where, you know, either you get it or you don't. But yeah, they're going to be getting rid of that. So if you do want lifetime access, I think between like, I think it's sometime in like December, basically. I'd have to double check, but they will be getting rid of that. So just a little bit of an, a little bit of an advance warning if you do want the lifetime. Anyways, other than that, I'll be signing off. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.